Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Wolf She Never Knew. Episode 7. Chapter 47a. 2 days later. So much has happened in 2 days. I am up and walking around and heading back to Brent's castle. He said he has set up a room for myself and a therapist to come and see me every day for exercising. Brent has been there every step of the way and I could tell that he was nothing like his brother, Dexter. His phone rang and he excused himself, stepping out of the room. I decided to put on the clothes he purchased me. He got me a pair of stretchy leggings and a flowy floral top. It was actually kind of cute together. I brushed my hair and pulled it up into a high messy bun, strands falling, framing my face. I sat back on the bed, aching and winded from just getting dressed. I was still sore and a little weak. Brent walked back in and smiled at me. "You look beautiful." I felt the warmth in my cheeks and I am sure he could see my blush. "Thank you." That was King Everest on the phone. He started and the name caught my attention. He was checking in on you and was seeing how you were doing. He has a question for you though. You don't have to decide now. What is the question? My brow raised slightly. He was just seeing once you're healed if you would be willing to help take Dexter down. Oh. This required no extra time to think. I already knew my answer. Absolutely. Anything he needs from me, once I am able, I will do my part in helping. He nodded, unlocked his phone and I assume sent King Everest my decision. Hungry? He smiled as he slid his phone into his pocket. Starving? I replied. Let's grab lunch before we head home. He smiled as a nurse came in with a wheelchair. Sounds good to me. I am down for whatever. I stood and sat back down. The nurse smiled sweetly at me. She wheeled me down to the elevator that took us down to the lobby. When the lobby doors opened up, his security detail was waiting for us. He took over, pushing the wheelchair outside to a black SUV with dark windows. There were several others that matched in a line in the patient pickup bay. He helped me into the back seat and shut the door behind me. He exchanged words with the front vehicle and walked back to the vehicle, getting inside and nodded. We pulled off and I looked out the window as our driver took us where we needed to go. I hope you like steak or seafood. He, even now, couldn't keep his eyes off of me. It is my favorite. I responded with a smile in his direction. Really? I thought which stuck to like stews, or I don't know. I haven't known many whichs. He laughed nervously. Or mortal human children. I laughed, hard. No, I eat normal food. Not big on stews. I've never been a normal witch though. I shrugged. Interesting. He smiled. I have some things I need to share with you over dinner and things I would like to discuss with you. Oh? Okay. Is it serious, important? I asked. He nodded his head. Both, in my opinion. Well. Okay. I bit my bottom lip nervously. I watched his eyes look down to my mouth and back up again. When we arrived and settled in, I realized we were the only ones in here. He must have cleared it out for safety precautions, being he was the king. Our waitress was a thin, well-endowed woman who was making eyes with him and flirting. He acted as if he didn't even notice as he ordered an appetizer for both of us that had a mixture of fried pickles, lobster bites, and chips with a spinac artichoke dip. He then ordered 2 lobster tails, shrimp scampi with extra sauce, a medium-rare ribeye steak, a loaded baked potato, and a Coke to drink for himself. It was a lot of food and I wondered if he could eat it all by himself. I knew lichens could eat a lot but I never thought of it. When the waitress turned she looked me up and down and said "And you?" impatiently as if I was a burden. My cheeks reddened and I felt angry with her. I will have a house salad with ranch dressing, medium ribeye steak, loaded baked potato and broccoli and cheese soup, and a sweet tea to drink please. She wrote it down, turned back to Brent and smiled again. If you need anything, anything at all, please just let me know. I would be more than happy to assist you in whatever you need. Her tongue darted out as she wet her lips. Actually, I need to speak to your boss, he told her and her eyes widened. Yes sir, right away. When she left he looked over to me with an apologetic smile. I am sorry. I do not condone such treatment and will not tolerate the disrespect in front of me. The waiter came over and Brent spoke to him about the waitress's attitude towards me. Brent stood and walked with the owner where I couldn't hear them. I watched them talk as the owner had a surprised look on his face as he turned to look over at me with a massive smile. Wonder what that was about. Interesting, I thought to myself. When they both came over the owner apologized profusely. Mistakes happen. I know that King Brent is the most powerful Leakin in the Southern Territory. Don't sweat it. He bowed to us both, thanked us and left to run back to the kitchen. Our appetizer arrived and everything was divine. I slowly chewed and enjoyed every delicious bite I took. I took a sip of my tea as I looked over to Brent. So, Brent, what is this important information you need to discuss with me? I took a bite of my chip as I watched him. He froze and looked up to me. Okay, okay. I know I can't put off much longer. My Leakin is pacing deep within me, threatening to come out. He sighed before taking a sip of his soda. Do you know how rare it is that a Leakin finds their fated mate? He looked at me with a serious look on his face. I kind of do, I answered honestly. Well, it's very rare. It's even more rare that a Leakin, especially of royal blood, find a mate who is not of the Leakin bloodline. He paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. Well, Miranda, you are my mate. My fated mate, that is. I knew there was something about you, but because of you hiding your scent I couldn't pinpoint what it was about you that seemed so special. If you don't believe me, ask Everest. I mentioned something about you when you came to us for help. He smiled at me. It is rare that a royal Leakin have a non-Leakin mate because that fates make a non-Leakin turn to a royal Leakin blood when the bond is sealed and you're marked by me. He sighed and looked down. I am your mate? I asked again. He nodded his head and he smiled at me. Yes, and I am your mate. I also realize that it is much different for you than it is for me. I know that you feel a pull towards me but not a strong pull like what I have. He leaned back in his seat as he watched me, undoubtedly watching my facial expressions. It was true, I did feel something deep inside for him. Those thoughts I had when I first opened my eyes and saw him resting there on the bed in front of me. I wanted to run my fingers through his hair and I wanted to kiss those tempting lips of his. Yes. I feel a weird pull to you. I can't explain how it works or how it makes me feel. I just know that I want to be near you and close to you. I looked down at my appetizer plate as my cheeks blushed at my confession. His hand reached across the table, taking my own hand into his. Look at me, Miranda. I did as he told me to and looked him directly in his eyes. His beautiful golden honey eyes, and he smiled. I will take this at whatever pace you want to take this. I trust you fully, only because I can feel the mate bond. I know that your trust in me needs to develop. I am only asking for you to take a chance and allow yourself to fall in love with me before we decide anything. Yes. A new waitress set our food down in front of us and I allowed her to leave before speaking. Yes. Okay. He brought the back of my hand to his lips, placing a soft kiss on it. Good, now let's enjoy this food. We can go over anything else afterwards. He released my hand and I looked at all of our food and my stomach growled. It all looked very delicious and smelled wonderful. Back to current, we arrived to the territory of the Northern Kingdom as I thought of how my life changed. Brent sat beside me with his hand on my lap and my hand rested on top of his. I looked out the window as the city flashed by around us. Brent has been nothing but patient, kind, and caring the last few weeks. He has taught me so much about the Leakin way of life. I had fully healed from the wounds his brother gave me. I wanted my revenge, though I was very nervous to meet Avalynn. I had prayed and hoped that she would not hold my actions against me for aiding in Dexter's kidnapping of her. I only done it to save Cassie. I will forever be in her debt for the rest of my life for any pain or trauma I caused her. We are about 5 minutes out. Brent spoke to me softly. Okay. I smiled over to him. Don't be nervous. We are all fighting for the same cause here. He leaned over and placed a kiss on my cheek. I know I am just worried that they're going to send me to their prison cells. I laughed nervously. Not a chance. I wouldn't allow for that to happen. You had no choice, for Cassie's sake. You did what any loving caregiver would do in this situation. You handled it the best way you could. Not only do they know this but that fully understand this. Please stop worrying. He gave me a reassuring smile. I took a deep breath and nodded my head okay. I trust you. I smiled as we pulled up to the gates of the castle. They opened and we drove through, our warriors filling in around us as the vehicle came to a stop. I looked and smiled when I saw Cassie excitedly jumping up and down. Avalynn POV. I stood next to Everest as the black SUVs pulled in. The Lycans from the Southern Territory gathered around them. All of the drivers hopped out, walking around and standing next to the doors. Only one driver out of the 6 was opening the back seat of the middle SUV. I watched as King Brent emerged first, turning around and helping Miranda exit the vehicle. She looked fantastic and she seemed to heal well. I watched Miranda smile at Brent before her eyes began darting around, checking her surrounding, her eyes landing on Everest first then me. I could sense her nervousness mixed with fear as she looked at me. I gave her a welcoming smile, she gave a small one back. She was nervous being here, I couldn't blame her though. I would be nervous also. Just to be around people who I was unsure if they blamed me for what happened. I would just have to make sure she knows I did not blame her at all. I glanced over to Claire and walked over to her. I kneeled down to Cassie's level. Ready? I asked with a smile. Cassie nodded her head yes. I am. I held my hand out and she took it, her little fingers holding onto my hand tightly. We walked with Everest to greet them. When we reached them and I let Cassie's hand go as she practically leaped into Miranda's arms, clutching her and holding onto her for dear life. She has missed you and asked about you daily. I looked down at them. We told her how much of a hero you truly are. How you helped people. You did. She was standing now. We did, yes. I smiled. Thank you. She turned her head to smile up at Brent. Once this is done with, Miranda, I would really like to speak with you in my office. If you do not mind? Nothing but to discuss arrangements for all of our people coming together. Maybe after dinner and then we can join our mates. I smiled. She nervously nodded her head. Okay, I can do that. I smiled as I listened to Brent and Everest speaking to one another. I watched them shake hands and we all walked inside together. We have made comfortable accommodations for your men and women. Here is the hotel information if they want to sit their things down. Everest handed Brent the info and he turned to inform them. Then the men and women, who they came with, left the area. I can show you where your room is? If you would like. I looked at Miranda. I have also made it so Cassie can stay with you too. That would be lovely. Thanks. I lead the way as she followed. Both of our mates stood back talking about Dexter and strategies. We made our way to the elevator, the door opening and I selected the 4 button. You are on the same floor as us, just the opposite side or wing. I didn't know if you were sharing a room with Brent so I gave you an adjoining room, his is right next door if you ever need him. I looked over to her and as she fiddled with her fingers. Miranda, I really hope that we can become good friends. I would like that. She said as the elevator dinged with the door opening and we stepped off. I led the way to her room and opened the door for her. I handed her the keys to the room and the adjoining door. I walked in with her as the door shut behind us. You have a full walk-in closet with a vanity, a large bathroom with a soaking tub. Cassie's bed is in this smaller extra room. It was another oversized closet but I had it redone for you both. It was bigger than the other closet. I watched her walk around the room. And behind this door is his room. She walked in and nodded. We do not share a room. She said softly. It is understandable. You need time. Let me show you your personal kitchen. I left the room and walked deeper down the hall into an open kitchen and dining area. It is fully stocked. Anything you want feel free to take. If you have any questions just ask and myself or anyone around here will be happy to help you or King Brent. I smiled at her before giving her space and walking out of their temporary wing of our castle. I walked to our room and shut the door behind me. I let out a small sigh and made my way to the bathroom. I took a quick shower to freshen up before dinner. I put on my makeup and curled my hair, putting it half up. I put on a black dress that had a laced back. I put on red heels and looked at myself in the mirror when Everest walked in the door. He walked over to me as his eyes ran across my body. He pulled me into his arms and kissed me with passion. A kiss filled with desire, hunger, and want. I kissed him back and wrapped my arms tightly around him. I bit his lip softly and he groaned before breaking the kiss. "You are mine later," he promised, and I smiled. "Lucky you, I have yet to put on my lipstick. You won't be stained red." I walked over to the mirror and placed the red lipstick on. I glanced over as he was walking into the shower. A sight I was so lucky to be able to see every day. I walked back out to our bedroom, having a seat on the chaise lounge next to the bed. I waited and watched him get ready, once he was out of the shower. He was so handsome, I could look at him all day. He was wearing black slacks and a fitted light blue button-down that was tucked into the waist of his slacks. We walked to the elevator together and went downstairs. The conference and dining hall that connected were both opened up and set together. The dining hall outside doors were opened and tables were also set outside. This way every person here had a table to sit and eat at together. It was extremely crowded, but this way everyone was safe and together. We all ate our foods and took time to get to know one another better. I watched all of the interaction between wolves and lichens. Everyone was being peaceful and getting along nicely. It was a nice change of pace. Everest cleared his throat and stood, everyone going quiet. "Good evening everyone. I am going to go over the training schedule times along with other things we all believe you should be aware of. We will be training twice a day for the next week. We will continue eating dinner together every night. In the morning breakfast is a grab-and-go bar. We will have eggs, bagels, ham, sausage, bacon, biscuits, and a waffle maker set up. We will also have granola, apples, bananas, and fruit bars for quick snacks. Milk, juice, tea, sodas, and water will be available throughout the day. Feel free to take what you need to eat and drink. Lunches will be sandwiches, salads, wraps, chips, and fruit. The same drinks will be served throughout the day. Dinner will be at 7 right where you all are now." Everest paused and looked around the room for a moment. "Starting tomorrow we will be in rotational groups. Our training will begin at 6 sharp. If you are late, you will be running 5 miles after training of over. First training will last until 11. Lunch break from 11 to 1. Second training session will last from 1:30 to 5. The second training groups will be more combat training in high-stressed situations when you have multiples to go against. I want you to all remember one thing, in war nothing is fair and the enemy will use whatever they can against you. Stay on your toes and stay aware of your surroundings. King Brent, do you have anything to add?" He turned and Brent nodded as he stood, taking his place. "To my men and women, any orders you are given by a higher up, you are to follow. The only way you do not follow said orders is if it goes against what we are fighting for." In unison his warriors spoke, "Yes, King Brent." I looked over at Miranda and she was looking out to the crowd. As if she knew someone was looking at her, she looked directly at me. I gave her a smile and she smiled back. I stood, kissed Everest on the cheek. "Should we announce the crowning ceremony?" "Yes." "Would you like me to?" I nodded and stepped back. "Ladies and gentlemen, this week we will be having my mate's crowning ceremony on Thursday evening. Anyone is welcome to join this ceremony. It will be held before dinner. On Thursday, we will not be having our second training. The evening is yours to do with what you will." "Thank you." He glanced back at me as the crowd erupted into cheers. Yelling, clapping, and whistles filled the room. I walked up to Center Steffi and waved to everyone to quiet down. Thank you everyone. It is a great honor to be serving such wonderful lichens and wolves. I am here to do my best for you and for our kingdom. I am so thankful our wonderful moon goddess has blessed me to lead you with our waterfall king. I told them and they erupted into cheering again. I stepped by and Everest took my hand in his own, holding onto it tightly. He led me back to our seat as we discussed amongst ourselves over what is happening the next few days. I excused myself from the group and made my way to my office. I opened the door and had a seat. I went through the finalization paperwork over the crowning ceremony and signed off on anything that needed to be approved. I put them in my outgoing stack and a knock came on the door. I could tell by the nervous thoughts that it was Miranda. Come in, it is open, I said cheerfully. Miranda walked in and although she was still nervous, she seemed more comfortable around myself as she spoke. Hello. Hello. I am glad you are here, I told her. She looked confused. You are? I am. I know that you are worried and nervous because of what role you played in earlier events. I paused as she looked down and I sighed. I am very sorry, she said quickly before I continued. Look, Miranda. He had Cassie. Yes. I watched her nod her head slowly. I continued. You did what you could. I would be willing to bet he threatened to murder her if you went to anyone else for help. Yes. Yes, he did, she said in a small voice. I stood and walked over to the couch she was sitting down on next to her. Miranda, I would have done the same thing if he had anyone I loved. You should know that I heard his conversation with you while I was allegedly sick. I never was, I faked it. I laughed. She looked at me surprised. You faked it? I nodded my head. I sure did. I stopped eating anything that wasn't pre-packaged. I started noticing an immediate difference and my lichen was there. I then faked being sick. I went to faint and well, I did hit my head. That is when I heard your conversation with the ass. I am glad you went for help. Cassie, the sweet girl, may not be here if you didn't. You did good, Miranda. You protected that little girl. She was crying now. I put an arm around her and hugged her to my body, making shushing noises. Everything is okay. Everything will be okay. You do not have to worry anymore. Dexter will never hurt you or Cassie ever again. She sniffed and nodded. I was so very worried that this was all a setup and I would be hung for treason. I should be, and I was fully ready to accept the consequences of my actions against everyone here. She cried. I felt for her. She must have been absolutely terrified the entire way here. We sat for a while in a now comfortable silence as Miranda's tears were dried and her cheeks were not as red as they once were. Brent is worried about you. Or was worried about you. I smiled at her. He's with Everest and he linked me asking if you were with me and if you were okay. How? She looked at me confused. We have a link that mates share. It is a special line of communication. Being queen, or soon to be queen, I will be able to directly speak to other members of our territory, wolf or lichen. You can shut the link down at any time. Also, you can feel your mate's happiness, sadness, or when they are angry or afraid, so on and so forth. Oh, I knew you all had a special form of communicating, I just didn't know the extent of how you did it. That's pretty neat though, you can feel one another. It is. It's nice to be able to ask a question and have it answered immediately. I watched her for a moment as she looked around my office. You are a witch, correct? She nodded. I am. I come from a decent bloodline of witches. Not that any of them are around today because of Dexter. She frowned. But yes. Are you sure you will be able to face him? I am sure of it. I want him to pay for everything he has done. I want to help be the one that brings him down. Good, okay. So enough of all super depressing things. How are you at party planning? I smiled. I'm a pretty organized person, she said with a small shrug of her shoulders. I was wondering if you could help me, considering there is a significant amount of people here. Sure, I would love to help you. She smiled. A knock came on the door. It is open. I called out and in walked Claire and Amber with a binder. We have been preparing for your crowning since you got here. Claire began helping when her and Josh arrived. She set the binder down and I started flipping through it. It was impressive work. This is going to be the best part of this week, Amber said. I couldn't agree more with her. This was going to be another way everyone could bond. To be together, to add another layer of trust and respect for one another. The week went by rather quickly. I imagine it was because I kept myself busy with everything. I went through both training classes and my additional training with my security detail an additional 2 hours after dinner. Then I somehow managed to have the time to get ready for tonight's crowning ceremony. I wasn't getting to bed until almost midnight. It was insane the amount of work and effort every person that is here has put into training this week. I was proud of how well everyone from all sides were getting along. I know everyone is exhausted, but it is going to make us a strong force to be reckoned with when all is said and done. Sir Brennan, Dexter, and Ryder will not know what hit them. This thought thrilled me to no end. Every single one of them got what was coming to them. All of these thoughts seemed to swirl through my mind as I soaked in my tub. I laid back and closed my eyes, inhaling the wonderful scents of lilac and vanilla. I moved down more into the bubbly water, the water now up to my neck. I still needed to shower and wash my hair, but it was so warm and relaxing my body refused to get out. I guess I did overdo it this week. I needed it though. I have never felt more strong and capable in all of my life. I picked up everything I learned very quickly. I surprised not only myself but everyone around. Another 20 minutes went by and I finally made myself get out of the tub and into the shower. I ran the shower hot and washed off the soap and washed my hair. When I got out and dried off, I slipped the robe around my body. I stood and looked at myself for a moment and noticed how my muscles have changed from when I thought I was a human. I was more toned and definitely looked like I was stronger. It made me smile. Everest came into the bathroom and stood behind me as I put lotion on my arms. He took the bottle of lotion off the counter and smiled at me. He pushed the pump down and had a decent amount in his hand. He used his free hand to push down the material around my shoulders. He rubbed his hands together before moving them to my shoulders. He worked the lotion into my skin as I closed my eyes, enjoying the feeling of his hands against my skin. The water ran against our bodies as he began to wash my shoulders and back gently. You are perfect, my queen. I must clean you up again. His voice was low and deep sounding as he washed me. It brought a smile to my face as I felt happily content. I turned in his arms and looked up to him. You, my king, never fail to please me. I stepped up on my tiptoes and pressed a kiss on his mouth. I hope to give you many more acts of pleasure in the future, my love. He kissed me again for just a moment. Just not now because you must get ready for this evening. I fear I have kept you long enough. Amber, Claire, and Miranda are waiting for you. I nodded and stepped out of the shower, wrapping a towel around my body and dried off. I got myself dressed in some comfortable clothes, an oversized button-down shirt and some leggings. I walked over to Everest and gave him a kiss before leaving. I will see you soon. He returned the kiss. Enjoy being pampered. See you soon, love. He smiled down at me. I walked down the hall as I hummed happily to myself. I finally joined the girls in my office. They had already dried their hair. Oops. It didn't look much like an office now as there was curling irons, hair straighteners, blow dryers, brushes, tons of makeup, and all of our dresses hung up along the window. It looked straight out of a salon. A knock sounded on the door. Come in, I called, and in walked a team of people assigned to get us ready. They bowed and greeted each one of us. Luckily my office was large enough to hold everyone here. We sat down in our chairs as they began their work. We chit-chatted amongst one another, the hot topic being the mate bond between King Brent and Miranda. How does the bond feel between you and him? Can you tell, or is it based off what he says? Amber asked. Miranda took a sip of her coffee and began trying to explain it the best she could. I can feel more than attraction for him. It is like I know that he would never hurt me. He would always be there for me. There is like a pull, a magnetic pull towards him that I can't do anything about, and I don't want to do anything anyway. To be near him is all I want. To be with him is all I need. Being with him brings my soul peace and makes me feel whole. It is weird to feel all these things about basically a complete stranger. I know he is worried that I will end up rejecting him, but I don't think I have it in my heart to do so. She sighed. Wow. Okay, imagine that, but magnified by about 1,000 times. Claire responded, holy crap, I couldn't even imagine. Miranda commented. You will be able to see it if he marks you. Amber said, and I nodded. Yet if he marks you, you will become a Leakin. I told her. I will. She seemed confused. Yes, at least from everything I have read you will be. It is very rare that a non-Leakin and Leakin are mates. So there isn't much in the books in the way of what happens. Humans have a harder time with transitioning, I believe. May be different for you, since you have magic in your blood because you're a witch. I looked over to her. We can do all the research before he marks you. But if you fully accept him as your mate, because he is king of the Southern Territory, he will have to mark you. Amber told her. Yet, it is too dangerous to not wear his mark and not have a direct line to communicate with one another. Miranda's side glanced me, a wave of guilt washing over her. I nodded my head. It really is. We may not be in the position we are in now if we would have sidestepped to rules earlier. But live and learn, right? I smiled. The makeup artist began doing my makeup and I remained very still, well as still as I possibly could. Afterwards we all assisted one another in getting into our dresses. My dress was a navy and silver completely opened back dress. The front was a deep V that stopped just before my belly button. My hair was done in a updo low bun with soft strands of curls framing my face. My makeup was a smoky look with a deep red lip. A knock came on the door and I smiled. It is all of our men, ladies. And I felt their excitement. We all walked out one by one. When I saw Everest my breath caught, he looked dashingly handsome tonight. His suit was a deep navy with a white button-down and black shoes. His hair was fixed and left me tempted as I wanted to touch it. He was freshly shaved and his jawline was strong-looking. I bit my lip as I looked him up and down. How I would love to run my tongue along that jawline and to his ear. Maybe down his neck and tease my mark on him before. You better stop or we will never make it to the crowning ceremony. I want to suck on that lip. Everest's voice drifted through my mind and my cheeks reddened as I blushed. Everest let out a chuckle before taking my hand in his. Hello, beautiful. Hello, handsome. I replied. Are you ready? It is almost time. We will let the others settle in before they announce us to come in. He pressed a soft kiss against my temple. I am ready, though I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. I looked up to him. Nervous? Why? He wondered. Well, because I went from thinking I was a human to being the mate of a prince and now I am to be queen of an entire territory. In just the span of a few months. It is all just very surreal. I looked over to whoever walked over to us and bowed. Hello, are we ready? Everest asked to man. Yes, Your Grace, we are ready for you both. He bowed and left. Everest turned his head back to me. You are going to be a wonderful queen. You have already displayed this and that is why our people stand behind you. We walked to the hall. As the doors opened I saw that the tables had all been removed and everything was beautifully decorated. I really didn't want everything to be over the top but was told by many that with this many in the kingdom and in attendance that it needed to be. It seemed silly with everything going on but Everest's mother told me I deserved to have my day. Maybe she was right. The doors opened in front of us and I held my breath before walking in. The room was absolutely more than I could ever imagine. It had been completely transformed and beautifully decorated. The tables had been moved and all chairs lined and it was absolutely packed with all members in attendance. The color theme was a navy and soft pink with trims of glitter. Everyone who accomplished this went above and beyond my expectations. We stood in the opened double doorway as Everest allowed me to take in my surroundings for a brief moment. I looked at all of the people who were standing but their heads bowed out of respect as we passed by. We made our way up to our traditional thrones as they sat on the raised stage. Members of the High Council sat on either side of the thrones. As we walked up on the stage, they stood and walked over to us. One of them motioned as a case with a very expensive and elaborate-looking crown sat in a case. Another brought out a deep red antique cloak that had white trim along it and held onto it. Another brought a thick dark red pillow and placed it a few feet away from me. The highest council member, Sebastian, began reading scriptures from a very old book. Some of it was based off the territory's history about the Great War that split and divided the Lycans and Wolves between North and South. How in this very moment history itself was being made because of the North and South coming together in working towards the greater good with the accompany of even a witch. I saw Miranda's face flush in the crowd at the mention of herself. Then he turned to me and Everest let my hand go, and I stepped forward as he had motioned me to do so. Sebastian then motioned to the pillow and began after I had kneeled onto the pillow. Avalynn, from this day forth do you swear by the goddess above to protect this pack, do right by this pack, lead by example, follow the king, support the king, and do everything in your power to be the leader you were born to be. Yes, I agree, I stated. In the hard times, in war, when sickness plagues the lands we call our home, do you pledge here, in front of all of the wolves, lichens, the king, and council members to lead to the best of your capability? He looked down to me. Yes, I agree, I said again. When times are rough and days turn into weeks and weeks to months, do you pledge to always be that glimmer of hope for the territory to see a brighter future that is ahead by any means necessary? He asked the final questions. Yes, I do. Seemed like these all needed to be updated, but who am I to go off changing these to modern times? From this day, let it be known that she is now named Queen Avalynn of the Northern Territory. May her reign be long, fruitful, and forever blessed by the moon goddess above. His voice raised to ensure everyone could hear him. He placed the delicate crown on top of my head. To my surprise, the crown fit me perfectly. Almost as if it was made to sit there. I happened to glance up and Sebastian had a knowing look on his face. I was sure it was nothing though. Everest helped me up to stand as he placed the cloak around my shoulders. He led me to our thrones as we sat, and then cheering erupted throughout the great hall. Everest leaned in to kiss me as everyone bowed their head and kneeled to their new queen. Everest was still by my side as he addressed the crowd of people, my people, our people, ladies and gentlemen. He paused as everyone was standing back up, allowing them a moment. Dinner, dancing, and entertainment awaits. It is a perfect evening for a crowning celebration. Eat and enjoy your evening. I stepped in because your queen commands it. As we walked out to the crowd together, many people were happy and congratulated myself and Everest on how wonderful I truly was. Some congratulated me on how well I had been handling the current situations at hand. With the kidnapping, the three brothers, helping evacuate Pax, and even forgiving the Southern King's mated witch. I know some did not understand, but knowing how she was a Lycan King's mate made her pretty untouchable in our world. The only ones who can punish her would be her mate or Everest, and we were already fighting one war, we didn't need to fight two at once. We are going to have to explain to the pack in further detail once this is over. They will understand it eventually, even though they don't now. Charlotte's thoughts drifted through my mind. Dinner and dancing was happening as we walked to our table. I stopped and smiled at the table. The placement was beautifully elegant, topped with white roses, navy tablecloths with a silver laced trim and soft pink napkins. Our thrones must have been moved because now here they sat. Everest led me to my spot next to him and pushed my chair in as I sat down. He took his spot next to me and our dinner was served. We happily ate and talked amongst ourselves. After a few minutes passed, a play started up on a raised stage. It was the entertainment. It showed how they, the people, interrupted our love story. It hit the high points and avoided anything too terrible. It showed a couple who were madly and blindly in love with one another. How the queen rose to greatness during battle and saved her people from a horrible fate. When it was over, I clapped and cheered the actors and actresses who put on the show. I sat back and dessert was served. We should go on a run along the forest edge. The entire kingdom can join in. It will be magical. Charlotte said. Oh, that sounds like a marvelous idea, Charlotte. I will link to ask him. If he thinks it is a bad idea, I don't want others to hear and get their hopes up. I told her. Oh. Smart thinking. Hurry and ask. I am itching to get out and run and stretch my leg and just have so much fun. She sounded very excited and happy. I smiled and linked Everest, so Charlotte and I were wondering if we could get everyone in on a run. He glanced over to me and smiled, linking me back. I believe that would be a fantastic idea. We can stay close to the treeline and not venture past our warriors who are doing perimeter runs. Let us go ahead and announce it. Some need to change and prep so they don't ruin their clothes. Oh, can I announce it? I asked excitedly and he nodded. I stood up at the table when the music finished playing and walked around the front of our table. People were talking amongst themselves or just finished dancing waiting for another song to play. I cleared my throat, as I was a little nervous to address the entire room. The room went instantly silent and I smiled inside at how they just knew something was about to happen. Maybe we can call it their instinct and ties to their leaders, possibly. I really hope that everyone here is enjoying this evening's activities. As I have become your queen, I would like to offer a kingdom-wide from the north and south a unified pack run. Lycan and wolves to run together under tonight's clear bright moonlit sky. Northern and southern territories to unite in a run, not only to show how unified we truly are but to let our beasts out to run, stretch, and play. I know that there have been a lot, and I mean a lot of mates who have found one another since we have all come together. Let's unite together on this run. Be back and ready to go in 1 hour. We will follow our king as he will be leading the run along with myself and King Brent for the Southern Territory. Excitement was felt throughout the entire room. People stood to leave the room in a hurry and I was almost afraid that I had started a small mob. Everest's voice boomed behind me. Please everyone, do not rush the doors, you have an hour to change clothes and be back. That is plenty of time. Everyone slowed down and walked instead of rushing or running out the door. Everest was standing next to me as he placed his hand on the small of my back. Want to go get changed? Yes, I would like to be more comfortable. I told him. We waited for everyone to be pretty much cleared out when we made our way up to our room. We walked with Brent and Miranda. So what is this? She asked me. It like a pack run. But this one is much larger than a traditional run. Lycans usually just shift and run. Wolves can, but they like to do it in big groups. It makes the entire pack stronger to run together. It is also a good way to let our beasts run together, play, stretch, and just have fun. Oh. Miranda had a frown. What's wrong? I asked her. I obviously cannot shift. She blushed and she looked so sad to not be able to join. You may not be able to shift but you can ride. I told her. I saw Brent look back at us with a smirk. Ride? Him? His Lycan beast? You mean like a horse? She laughed, causing the guys to snicker. Yes. I believe so. You can grip his fur and ride with him. He would not let you fall. It would be a lot of fun. I laughed with her. Oh, I don't know, that makes me very nervous. I can try, I guess. I just hope that I do not fall off of him, she told me as her eyes widened. We will all be running together in the group that leads the whole pack. We won't let you fall, we will be close-knit. I reassured her. Okay. Thanks. I feel a bit better, I guess. She smiled and I returned the smile to her. See you guys in a bit. I told them both as we went in the opposite direction to our wing. We walked into our room and changed clothes. Everest helped me out of my dress carefully. His fingers caressed my skin softly, following the curve of my body. He leaned down and placed a kiss on my mouth. I helped him out of his suit, even though he didn't really need the help. We both put on gym attire and I took down my hair only to put it up in a high ponytail. How can someone look so beautiful in a fancy gown and still just as in workout gear? He pulled me into his arms with a playful growl, nipping at my ear. I giggled and wrapped my arms around his neck. I don't know, but I was wondering the same about you. Just, you know, in a suit and not a gown. He let out a good belly laugh. Oh, that would be a sight to see. I am sure everyone would love to see that sight. Their king in a tight-fitting gown. Ah. No. That image, I can't. He laughed at himself before calming as he still smiled at me, ready to go. I am. I said excitedly, and I could feel Charlotte push forward, watching and waiting as patiently as she could. We took the elevator down to the first floor and joined the others. Once we were sure everyone was there that wanted to or could attend, we began. Everest gave out the rules of not wandering off too far and do not cross past the perimeter warriors for safety reasons. We all shifted and took off to the woods. We ran as a full group for the first 30 minutes. Everyone spread out more and done their own thing once the signal was given that you can split. Charlotte glanced over to Miranda, who was clutching Brent's liken's fur for dear life but looked like she was having a blast. For some reason that made me very happy. We ran and all played with one another. Our lichens playing the child's game of tag with the rules of not being able to go after our mates. We were all connected and could sniff them out easily. We ran down to the river, splashing around and having a great time. We ran along the coastline with speed and ease before turning around and heading back. As much fun as we were having, we didn't want to stay out too late. Tomorrow was still coming and we still had training to do. We would be moving towards Sir Brennan's pack, it was determined earlier, Tuesday at dawn. Only a handful of days to perfect my moves. Saturday was going to be a full day off. To give everyone a day of rest, same with having Monday afternoon off. I felt Charlotte's sadness as we were preparing to shift back into my human form and reminded her that tomorrow and Sunday there would be lichen training, and she perked up. She was extremely excited to be able to utilize her skills. We shifted and returned back to bedroom. We took our showers together and washed the dirt off one another. We slid into our silk bed sheets after we dried off and I drifted off to sleep in his arms. Tomorrow will be another busy day of preparing for the war that is to come. Training the next few days were jam-packed. I ran what felt like 20 miles and learned several new tactical moves with ease. When we were combat training with our beasts, I excelled. Turns out Charlotte was an absolute natural. She was stealthy, quick, strong, and made smart moves and outwitted our opponents. I sat in our mind, watching through her eyes, and gave her full control. She would be deadly in the field when it was her time to shine. She used our gift to enter the minds of our opponents and was always one step ahead of them. It was marvelous to witness. Saturday came and us girls booked an early spa day. A day to just relax, get our muscles massaged, our facials, and soft music to ease the mind. We had lunch together with our mates and then parted ways to get some much-needed work done before dinner. I was up in my office as looked over budget papers. Papers that needed to be approved for pay. The hotels that all the members were staying in came through, finally. The total amount shocked me. I knew that our kingdom would receive a kickback of the payment, but the amount of money owed was more than I thought. Still, it was a part of the cost of war. You couldn't put a price on everyone's safety. I pulled up the accounts on my computer and began the long process of paying them. A knock sounded on the door after I had been navigating the payment screen for about 30 minutes. Come in. I called in and walked Miranda. She seemed to have a lot on her mind. I motioned for her to have a seat as she sat. Give me 1 minute to finish paying all of this. I glanced over to her and smiled. I clicked the last few tabs on the screen and was finished. What's up? I looked across my desk at her. She took a deep breath before she began to talk. Well, I wanted to ask you more questions about being, well, a Leakin. Our witch's council has been trying to contact me and I fear that it isn't the best of news. They can be rather greedy. I have been dodging them and I worry that since I am from a strong bloodline of witches, I fear they may be trying to use me for more power and control. She sighed and she looked obviously stressed. Well, being a Leakin has been wonderful. But that isn't what matters. I told her. It's not? Well, what matters then? She leaned forward in her seat as she listened to me. What really matters, out of the entire ordeal, is how you truly feel. Not the witch's council, not me or Brent, just only you. When you picture your happiness, what do you see? What do you see for yourself and your future? I asked her. I see him and a family together. She responded honestly. Then there you have it, it is that simple. I told her. Well, but the transformation could kill me. She stated. I nodded. There is always a possibility that it could kill you. But it is a slim chance, from what I have researched. I would lose my magical abilities. She frowned. Depends. I told her. On what? She asked. How the moon goddess feels about you. Are you worthy to keep some parts of your already magical being or do you lose it all? I shrugged. At least that is what I have read in a few books. Oh. Do you think I could look at those books by chance? She asked me. Of course, let me grab them for you. I stood and walked over to my bookcase. I searched the area. I thought I put them back. I said to myself as I pulled the first book off the shelf. I walked over to the couch where Miranda was sitting. Here you go. I am pretty sure I tabbed this section so I could find it quickly. I flipped through the pages and found where I had bookmarked the entire section. They covered transformations from a magical being into a Leakin. Now, this is only things that have been previously recorded and written down. Passed through several generations over the years. I handed her the book. Okay, thank you. She took the book from me, careful not to lose the spot I had marked for her. With that said, you know the information given here could be altered or changed. I don't know why someone would want to change the truth or the circumstances surrounding the truth, but some cannot always be trusted. So take anything you read here with a grain of salt. I sighed as I walked back over to my books. I picked the other two that had storied that may help her. I continued to search the others for anything that could be useful, coming up empty-handed. I passed the other two books to her as she read through the first one silently. I walked back behind my desk, sitting and thinking for a moment. I pulled out my laptop and powered it up. I looked through the internet that pertained to these certain situations. I typed in magical being mated to a Lycan king and clicked the search. The hourglass on the screen turned and turned, taking its sweet and precious time. What seemed like an eternity passed. A good portion of information pulled up. I began to click on articles and printing them out. This was after I skimmed through it quickly to make sure it was what we needed. There was an interesting entry about where a very powerful witch, who was on the council many moons ago. Turns out she was mated to a Lycan king from a decently powerful kingdom, and she chose to transform to be with her mate. She lived through the transformation from a witch to a Lycan. Come to find out, later on, she was blessed with special abilities from the moon goddess. When war consumed their territory, other Lycans had heard of how powerful she was, wanted her to use as their own personal weapon. The territory was overcome and the Lycan king was murdered along with her, by his side. The witch's council was furious, but later on it was revealed that they were behind the invasions to begin with. They used their magic for ruin, and it goes on discussing how this is why Lycans and witches no longer get along. I passed the article to Miranda after printing it off. She took it and read it to herself. I have heard of this story before. She looked up at me. I don't remember much about it, but I do remember my parents telling it to me when I was younger. But this isn't the same version from what I remember. It makes the Lycan king out to be a monster, forcing his mate to bear his mark. But seeing how gentle Brent is with me and watching everyone here who has mates, well. She trailed off, thinking and looking at the paper before she began again. Well, it just seems like the witches are being lied to by their own people. It is absolutely infuriating. I have witnessed nothing but kindness, love, and friendship. Well, other than Dexter, but he is a rouge at this point. And rouges, all across the board, regardless if they are a wolf or Lycan, cannot be trusted. They lie, steal, and cheat. They will attempt to get away with anything and everything if you let them. I shook my head and sighed. It is sad, really. I would like to think that some could be saved, but because of a silly mistake some get outcast and give up trying to control their beast. I could sense it in Dexter, you know. I watched how his eyes flashed with the power over his Lycan. I think he just has a weak human side and his Lycan knows that. Or that is just me trying to find the glimmer of good in him and he is really just a psychopath. I frowned. No, he wasn't always like that. When his mother passed away about 5 or 6 years ago he changed. Miranda told me. That's about the time he and his men invaded my pack and one of his men killed my mother as she tried to protect me. Yet, my brother is the one who offered his services for that mission. That's how they snuck past Border Patrol. My brother was a moron. She rolled her eyes. I loved him dearly, don't get me wrong. But he was in search for power and then got entangled with Dexter and wasn't able to repay whatever debts Dexter held over him. A mission went sideways and he slaughtered my entire family except for me and Cassie. She quickly swiped a tear from her face. After everything he has done, Dexter and his men, including my ex-mate, will pay for the crimes they have committed. They will have to answer to their sins. In time we will catch them, eventually. I want to personally rip him away, finger by finger and limb from limb. Make it painful, so he can feel all the pain he has caused. Bleed the life out of him entirely. But I want to do it slowly, so his healing process can kick in. I smiled to myself and I looked up to Miranda, who had an unreadable expression on her face. Sorry if that was a little much. I shrugged apologetically. No, because I want to be there, with my magic holding him there while you do it. Maybe send him waves of electric pulses to keep his heart beating, or to shock him for of it. I think it would be justified for us both. She grinned at me. Oh. This was the moment I knew we would be lifelong friends. I grinned back at her and another knock came on the door. Come in. Claire walked in with a big smile on her face. Hello. What are you ladies up to? She was looking around at all the books and the papers scattered about. Just updating our knowledge on when I make my transformation. Miranda told her. Oh. Has any of it been helpful? She picked up a paper and was skimming it. Absolutely. Miranda went back to reading an article. Oh, and planning on how we will be taking our vengeance out on Dexter and the others. I grinned. Ooh. Really? I think I like this side of you. Strong, powerful, and bold. Yet you still have a good mindset to not make the wrong decisions. She wiggled her brows, causing me to laugh. What are we doing for our evening free? One last night out before all the battles and war. We should all go out dancing. Claire asked and offered her idea. That sounds like fun. Miranda agreed. Well, I feel like it may not be appropriate to go out and party like we are about to go battle to the death. I protested. Think of it this way, or well, try to at the least. See it as one more night out. We may not live to see tomorrow, so live for today. Claire looked at me and shrugged. Only something to think about. No, you're right. It sounds like a fun idea. I smiled. Can we come? Miranda asked. Of course. The more the merry. Claire told her as she walked to the door. I am going to track down Amber and tell her. Meet at 7 after dinner. Yes. Sounds like a good plan. I told her. I leaned back in my seat, looking over to Miranda. Feel free to take any of this you want with you. You will have more use out of this than I. She was gathering the papers up, pausing to look over to me. Thank you. I really appreciate it. She finished gathering everything I need to go get ready for dinner. I'll see you soon. See you soon, Miranda. I watched her leave and I put everything back in order. I left and went to get ready for dinner and dancing tonight. I have to admit I was pretty excited to really let loose for the first time in a long time. Now just what should I wear? I stood in my closet looking for something suitable for dancing but also for dinner. I couldn't find what I was looking for that blended both together. Everything was either too formal, business, or relaxed. There was no happy medium and it annoyed me. I just decided to dress in a business attire that was appropriate for a royal to wear during a dinner party. I will just have to come up and change clothes after dinner, I guess. Dinner went by smoothly as everyone ate and made small talk. Plans were finalized on when we would be moving. News came that Dexter had blown up the house of Everest's cousin, Jeremy's, up in smoke and set the surrounding building on fire. Jeremy was left seething in anger as he lost every possession he had. The only few things he didn't lose was what he brought with him here. I am so very sorry, Jeremy. But we will and can rebuild, I promise you that. I sat back in my seat and felt him calm down some. I knew it was hard for him to do. Thank you, Avalynn. I know it is just the fact that we all worked so hard on that place. I am just glad we are all safe in the end. We can replace the material things. Everest looked over and nodded. We will be rebuilding anything that he destroys, cousin. I promise you and everyone here that we will rebuild. Thank you, cousin. I really appreciate you. Jeremy had a tight smile. So when do we leave again? Brent asked. Tuesday at dawn. We will stop midway, which should be just outside your pack, Jeremy. From there we will split into our two groups. We will go around one way as King Brent and his mate, Miranda, will come in the opposite way. Everest told everyone at the table. We will have them surrounded on all sides. Okay, sounds reasonable to me. I just wanted to make sure so everyone is ready. Combat training the next 2 days in wolf form? King Brent asked. Yes, you are correct. We will need to teach them as much as we can. We will also need to retouch on basics with them all. Everest told him. Brent leaned back. Nan took a sip of his wine and made an agreeable sound before speaking. Very good then. Miranda and myself will be working together on strengthening my ability to tap into stubborn minds. She is going to use her magic to hide Amber and Claire's mind, and I have to work to connect them to mine. Miranda nodded. It isn't going to be easy to work around Witch's magic, but I am going to show her how to do it quickly. If she can break through my magic, she will be able to enter any mind with ease from here on out. But it will be worth it in the end. It'll open up access to everyone's mind, like Sarah. I can read her only sometimes. A lot of the time she has shut me out completely. After dinner I went upstairs and changed into a black dress that hit at my knees, black heels, and pulled my hair up in a high ponytail. I looked at myself and nodded in approval. I felt good and I looked hot. This will definitely do. I walked downstairs and ran into Miranda. I am so happy y'all are coming with us. I told her. Me too. I don't think we will be out too late. The training is going to be mentally exhausting tomorrow and I will need my rest. Miranda told me as we stepped onto the elevator. That is a good point. Dance a little, have a nice drink, then back home to sleep. I agreed with her. Trying to break through tough minds to read their thoughts while in my human form was going to be difficult. We stood in a comfortable silence as the humming and beeping from the floors were the only thing that was heard. I wondered how Charlotte was able to tap into people's minds easily. That's because it's harder to hide our thoughts from one another. We are all connected to the moon goddess. Charlotte told me. Okay, that makes sense. The night was a good release of pent-up nervous energy. We invited several members out with us and a good amount showed up. We danced with our mates and had a few drinks before heading home. When I got home I washed my face and took off my makeup. I changed into my pajamas and climbed into bed. Everest was in the shower and as much as I fought the sleep to wait for him, I fell asleep. I didn't even feel him get into the bed. I woke the next morning anxious and excited. It was combat training with Charlotte first this morning. Then this afternoon I would be linking up with Miranda and the girls. We were going to work on getting into others' minds better. I got dressed, ate a protein-packed breakfast, and went to training. Training was a breeze and Charlotte was an absolute rock star. She seriously had some amazing skills. We have our shifting down, ready to fight in less than a second. I was doing so well they moved from 2 lichens fighting me to 3 and threw in a wolf for fun. It was difficult, especially when they all rushed me, but I got the higher ground and when I snapped at the wolf, stopping at his fur line, he was ruled dead. I moved between the 3 lichens. I watched as they circled me and one lunged unexpectedly from behind. Charlotte kicked, using the force to launch herself forward and took out another lichen in the process. She turned to the only one left and they crashed into one another, biting, clawing, and rolling in the dirt. Charlotte held nothing back and stopped at the fur line with a snap. She won and had gathered a decent crowd around her. There was clapping and our eyes found Everest. He was wearing a proud smile and nodded his head. You're ready, officially, with your combat with multiples. We are proud of you both. Now go ahead and go work with Miranda. She is waiting for you on the outside yard of the garden. Everest linked us. I shifted back into my human form and made my way to the garden. I walked along the pathway that weaved in and out of different flowers. It smelled absolutely wonderful out here. When I came to the end of it I saw Miranda doing her thing. I watched as Miranda was practicing her magic with a few volunteers. She was talented. She held them up in the sky and moving them about. It was weird because I could see the magic she was pouring out from her body. It was like rope that formed like a lasso around the bodies of the wolves she held in the air. She was speaking to them calmly, because any other tone they would be freaking out. I can do this to multiples. I can create a force field bubble around all 3 of you like this. She waved her hand through the air as a golden bubble drifted around and then formed around each one in the air. It was sort of beautiful to look at and witness really. Now if someone was to do anything at all to any of you, that bubble around you will protect you. It would not matter if they could throw fire, it would protect you. I heard her tell them. I watched as she eased them back to the ground and the wolves who volunteered to help were all smiles. That is amazing, Miranda. I walked over to her. Your tethers of magic are beautiful too. What? You could see them. She looked at me confused. Well yeah. Can't everyone? I frowned a bit. No, they can't. It just appears like normal air to everyone. It's invisible to non-magic eyes. She looked at me up and down. Are you sure you don't have any magical abilities other than reading minds? She questioned. I mean no. My birth parents were murdered. I don't know a whole lot about them or my past, honestly. My hand went to my locket around my neck and I sighed. Someone down your lineage may have a magical witch connection. You may possess a power you have yet to realize you even have. She told me. Can I see your locket? Of course. I took the connecting clasp off and placed the locket in her hand. This is very beautiful and very old. She smiled at me. I watched as she opened the locket and she frowned. I wish I was home so I could know this for certain. But I am sure your mother was related my mother, somehow, some way. What? Really? I was confused. I swore my mother was a Leakin. Yeah, I don't have many pictures left from the fire, but I am sure your mother was my mother's sister or cousin. They look a lot alike, but I never met her and the photos don't have names of who everyone is on them. She handed me the locket back to me. I placed the necklace back around my neck. So you're saying we could be cousins? She nodded her head. We would have to compare the photos one day, but it could be a possibility that we are cousins. I am about 80% sure that is the same woman in a photo with my mother when she was in her late teens, early 20s. That is insane. I looked at her with a frown. There is a lot to uncover here for sure. We will have to do some digging. I am not from the north, so maybe the south has more information than the north. I shrugged. Maybe. She also shrugged. When I thought about it, for a moment, it kind of made sense. Why I could go into people's minds and read their thoughts and see their actions before they acted them out. It was only a second, but it was just enough time to anticipate the moves from my opponents. Well, I guess we should get the show on the road, I told her. She nodded her head. Yes, come over here. She walked over to a blanket and two pillows sitting across from one another. I walked with her and she sat on a pillow and motioned for me to have a seat, and I done as she motioned for me to do. She inhaled deeply and exhaled slowly. I moved around and made myself comfortable. So, what are we doing first? First we are going to meditate and center our mind and body. To do this we will breathe evenly and relax. Close your eyes, inhale deeply, and exhale slowly. She told me. I did as she told me, and soon I felt more relaxed than I have in a very long time. The soft breeze kissed my skin as it blew. Even though about an hour went by, it felt as if only a few minutes went by when she caught my attention. There. Now look at me. I looked at her and she had a glow about her. I looked at my hands and they had the same glow. Not as vibrant as Miranda's, but still a small glow. I heard Claire and Amber walking through the garden, on their way here. See if you can hear their thoughts, Miranda said. I closed my eyes to concentrate and find my center. I felt the connection linked to them as I dug into their minds. I reached Claire first as I entered into her mind and private thoughts. I wonder what Miranda will do to block my thoughts? Will it affect all my connections? Will I be able to communicate through my link with Josh? Oh well, he knows what we are up to and where we are. Amber's thoughts also drifted into my mind. Oh! These flowers are beautiful. Azaleas. How beautiful! Oh! That would be a perfect name for our pup if it's a girl. What? I cut the link and looked at Miranda, who had a confused look on her face. You'll see in just a moment. They both exited the garden and made their way down to Miranda and me. I stood and walked over to Amber and gave her a huge hug. Does he know? He who and know what? She frowned, obviously confused. Jameson. Does he know about the baby? I smiled. Baby. Claire and Miranda said at the same time. How do you? Never mind, that would have been a dumb question. No, he doesn't, I just found out this morning. Amber laughed. I turned to look at Miranda. Is this safe for her to do? It is. Nothing will happen or put her or the baby in harm's way, Miranda said. But if she is not comfortable with it, I can always get one of the other volunteers from earlier to help. No, no. It is fine. If you say it is safe, then I trust your judgment. Amber reassured us all. Oh. Congratulations, by the way. I hugged Amber again before letting her go. Okay, then let's get to work, I told everyone. Miranda began with mixing a drink, like an herbal tea that strengthens the mind. It helps shield you from what she said, which call people like me mind seekers. She walked the circle doing a chant, and slowly I saw the tethers of her magic reach out to them both. The tethers both shined and sparkled and had a different color. Wow! I said softly and saw the confused looks on Claire and Amber's face. I didn't pay it any mind. Claire, Amber, pick any color in the world and think on it hard. Practically scream it in your own mind. Avalynn, tell me those colors. You both let me know if she's right. I knew the tether was not strong enough as I heard them both scream the colors in their mind. Purple. Navy. Purple for Claire, navy for Amber. I told Miranda, and she side-glanced at them both as they nodded their heads. You're stronger than the average mind seeker, that's very good. Your Lycan's abilities have probably moved to your human capabilities, Miranda said as she continued to wrap them with her magic. It was now like a silver blanket or wall. That wall was connected to the tethers that linked them to Miranda. I mumbled and saw a smile form on Miranda's mouth. She knew what I knew, and suddenly both Amber and Claire's thoughts vanished. I cannot hear them anymore, I told all of them. Good. Now let us play a game. Well, it is not a game for you, but something you must do. Miranda looked dead serious. Okay, what is it? I asked and felt my nerves begin to creep up. Let us say that they are in danger. A type of danger that if you don't tap through that wall, Amber's precious life will be no longer. Her facial expression was blank and I could see she was serious. But in order to get to Amber's thoughts, you must open Claire's thoughts first. Miranda, you said it was safe. I felt panic rise in me. It is, as long as you complete the mission. Time starts now. She started the watch on her phone. I closed my eyes and dug deep. If I looked at Amber, I may just panic even more. What am I going to do? Then Miranda started coaching me. It will be easier for you. You can make your own tethers. Picture it as a vibrant color and reach out to them. Connect with their mind, their soul. Well, that made some sense. If I had a magical background, I would be able to make a direct link to them, and so that is what I did. My tether was lime green as it stretched out to Claire first. I pushed myself to open the spell Miranda had cast. After only a few minutes I was able to break down that wall Miranda put up and was able to hear Claire. I pushed the tether to Amber. Her wall was stronger, but it only took a little under a minute to reach her mind. Miranda clapped her hands together and the spells she had around them disappeared. They were never in danger. I just wanted to give you motivation to work quickly. I am sorry. She apologized to me. I didn't know she was pregnant, but I did get together with them earlier today to let them know I was going to fake put their lives in danger. I had to be able to sell it to you, because the enemy won't be faking you, it will be very real. She sighed. I let out a long breath that I hadn't realized I was holding in and felt mentally drained. Oh, thank the goddess above, because I was so afraid I would have failed. Oh no, I paced around where we were. Sorry, Avalynn, Amber said. Yeah, sorry. We just wanted you to be pushed to your limit. Claire also apologized. You guys, it is fine. I am glad that I was able to do it. I told them. You did very well. Again, apologies. Miranda said. I could see why she wanted me to relax my mind and center myself, because I now wanted to take a nap. Well, eat some food then take a nap. We all left the garden and went back inside and did just that. I slept right to dinner and only woke up because Everest came to the room and found me by accident. Apparently when they came to look for us and didn't see any of us, all of our mates panicked. They sent search parties out into the woods and never once thought to check our own bedrooms. The spell took a lot out on all four of us. It was mentally draining and left me exhausted. To have to fight against witch's magic, she told me on our walk back inside, is harder than reaching a blocked mind. That was comforting to know at least. Everest scooped me up in my arms and kissed my face and all over. Thank the moon goddess you are okay. We all thought you were all taken. Oh, we were just exhausted from our training session with Miranda. It was a lot and took a lot out on me. I was working against her magic. I smiled at him as my stomach growled. Did it go well? He asked. Oh, it did. It was difficult, but I did it quickly too once I got through the first block. I told him and he smiled at me. My stomach growled again and I gave a small smile. It also apparently has made me ravenous. We had a snack and everything before I came up here to nap. I let out a small laugh. Dang, I was really hungry. So hungry that I could devour an entire horse or two. Come on. Get up and let's get dressed. Dinner will be ready shortly. He placed a kiss upon my forehead and got off the bed. The last couple of days I strengthened my ability to tap into people's minds. I was able to move through the barrier within a split second of one another. I was comfortable enough to be able to use it to our advantage in the near future. I still would like to test it out on one person I hadn't been able to fully read yet, Sarah. I needed to make time for that today. We would be leaving tomorrow. We would be marching straight to Brennan's group of men and stopping a little over halfway. There we would face Brennan, Dexter, and Ryder. It had me wondering though if they were panicking or just delusional. Did they really believe this war would be easy for them to win and conquer the entire North? I shook my head slightly to myself as I looked up at the sky. The sun was at its highest and the warmth felt nice against my skin. I wanted to go on a walk to the quiet stream. I needed to center myself and prepare for the journey ahead. I needed to mentally ready myself because there was no turning back. I looked ahead and found a small trail and began my walk. The hiking trail was generally used to access to forest during a shift but not today. Charlotte was resting up for the battle and journey ahead. I took my time and didn't want to rush through it. If something was to happen tomorrow, I wanted to be able to remember every detail, and every smell I came across. I stopped and smelled all kinds of different flowers, looked at different plants, bugs, and watched the wildlife. I touched the petals of flowers and felt how velvety they were. Everything seemed so simple. I paused when I came to the little clearing I had been searching for. Flowers had bloomed through it and many colors of various pinks and purples were scattered about. I closed my eyes and listened to the earth around me. I heard the babbling sounds of the stream that cut through the land, the wildlife around me moving in the trees. I walked to the water and had a seat and watched the water flow through all of the rocks. I watched small fish swim along and resting in the deeper pools, some swimming with or against the current. I heard a splash as a few geese entered down where it was deeper and widened out. I smiled to myself and made the note if we came out victorious to make more trips here in the future. I laid back on the grass and closed my eyes. I inhaled deep and exhaled slowly. I repeated this several times. I want to be so relaxed that I almost fell asleep. I was almost to that point of sleep, until the snapping of a few twigs caught my attention. I opened my eyes just as someone had blocked the sun from reaching me. I still needed to squint and moved a hand over my face to see who had disturbed me. My queen, I am very sorry to have disturbed you, but I did not realize that was you. A deep voice said to me. When my vision finally came forth, I noticed it was Jeremy. It is fine, Jeremy. What brings you here? I asked as I was sitting up fully. He sat down next to me as he looked out at the water. I just needed to come here to relax. We will be having our dinner in the office this evening and be finalizing every single detail about our journey tomorrow. What about you? He looked over at me. I could tell his thoughts as I watched his eyes move along my body. I was just cantering my body to the earth by using meditation. I have actually been gone a few hours, so I must get back. I turned to walk away. I heard him sigh, "Can you really read people's thoughts?" I turned back and looked at him. "I can, and you might want to keep some to yourself in my presence." I warned him and his eyes widened. Although the way he was looking at me would have given it away. He wasn't really trying to hide it. "Oh. I am sorry. Please do not take any offense when I tell you what I am about to say. It is just you are very beautiful. It is hard not to think." He paused as he had a smirk come to his face. "Of ways to keep you happy. My cousin is very lucky to have found his fated mate. I am just jealous is all." I frowned at his bold statement. He let out a small laugh and I let out a rumbling deathly growl as a warning. He held his hands up in surrender. "I will keep track of my own thoughts. I just want you to know that if something was to happen to Everest in the next few days, and I pray to the goddess above nothing does happen to him, I will be here for you. For everything, for you, my queen." He told me before turning his back to me and looking back at the water. I turned and walked away from Jeremy quickly. That was really weird. Did he just do what I think he did? Girl, yes he did. I don't know if we should be offended or be thankful someone is here for us. It honestly gave me the creeps. Charlotte's thoughts drifted in suddenly. Yeah, same here. He has done nothing but watch me intently, follow me around, and now this. I bet anything that he didn't just run into us there. I told her. I bet he followed your scent all the way here. She agreed. Probably did just so he could get me alone to tell me all of that. How annoying and so very disrespectful. Should I tell Everest? I honestly wondered if I should. I mean, it was harmless, but at the same time he was being disrespectful, but again it was his cousin. I sighed out of frustration as we were getting closer. I think we should tell him, but wait until we handle this current situation, the three stupids. I nodded to myself. Yet, I'll tell him on our way back. I don't want him to be blindsided by someone challenging him. Do you think it would come to that? His own family? I don't think he would, but people are crazy, so who knows? I was approaching the gardens as I looked and saw Everest standing talking to Josh, Jameson, Ted, and Daniel. I could hear them discussing who would be staying behind to oversee the ones who could not fight. I decided to walk over and cut in. I didn't know if Amber had told Jameson or not, but considering she is technically my right hand and mate to Everest's right hand, it is perfect. Hey guys! I said cheerfully, and they all greeted me back. What are we discussing? Just can't agree on who stays with everyone who can't go and fight. Everest told me. Well, if I have a say, then I nominate Amber. She's my right hand and has high enough authority for people to listen and follow. I said. Yeah, we were discussing her as a viable option. Daniel told me, and the others nodded. I am sure she would miss out on the fight, but she wouldn't mind. I told them. Jameson sighed and nodded. She would be disappointed at first, but it gives me peace knowing that she would be here safe, with a few warriors that we could spare, of course. She could continue to run training on the newly shifted lichens and wolves while we are gone too. That is an excellent idea. Avalynn, do you agree? Everest looked down at me. I do. I think it is an excellent plan. I confirmed. Of course I thought it was excellent. It would give Amber time to process her pregnancy and how she would tell Jameson. I know shifting while pregnant would be dangerous and she could lose the pup in the process. I am sure she would have no problem at all with staying behind and keeping everyone in check. I left them and walked back inside to go find Amber. I sent her a link. Hey, where are you? She linked me back. I am in the main kitchen grabbing some snacks. Okay, I will be right there. I walked and made my way to the kitchen in search of her. When I walked in, she was sitting on the counter eating some chips and salsa. Hey! You want some? She smiled and happily offered me some. Sure. Thanks. So I have some news for you. I took a chip and dipped it into the salsa as I spoke. I interrupted a meeting with the guys. I placed the entire chip in my mouth and chewed slowly to be a bit dramatic. I could see it kind of annoyed her, so I smiled. Oh? What was it about? She continued to eat. It was about who would be hanging back and taking care of everyone and overseeing things here. I looked over to her. Oh yeah. She shoved another heavily loaded chip into her mouth. I recommended you. I looked at her as she was going for another chip. She paused, bringing the chip away from her mouth to look at me. You did. She had a happy look on her face. I did. I didn't know if you have or haven't told Jameson yet. I know you wanted to make that announcement special for you both. I also know shifting while pregnant can be extremely dangerous, let alone what we are going to do. I halfway smiled. I hope you aren't mad. I sighed and looked down at my lap. Mad? Avalynn, why would I be mad? She questioned me and sounded confused. Well, because you're a beast on the battlefield and I pretty much stripped away that option for you before asking if you would be okay with that. I looked at her and shrugged my shoulders. Avalynn, you did the best thing a friend could do. You gave my baby a chance to live. It is early and I could still miscarry, but this gives my baby a better chance at survival. I could never, in a million years, be mad at that. She set down the salsa and her bag of chips and hugged me. I returned the hug to her and felt relieved. Okay, good. So just act disappointed then when Jameson tells you. But not so disappointed that he might change his mind. We both laughed. For sure. If I jumped for joy, he would for sure suspect something was up, and it wouldn't be in my character to do something that is so out of palsy as to who I am. She laughed. She picked back up the bag of chips and moved the salsa in between us. We happily ate in silence together. I could feel how relieved she was, and that brought me happiness. My feet swung back and forth, happily content on my proper decision. The cooks began pouring into the kitchen shortly after we talked, and we jumped off the counters. We needed to get out of their way and not be a distraction for their work. I put the salsa up and Amber put up the chips. I grabbed 2 bottles of water out of the fridge and passed one to Amber. I opened the bottle, taking a long drink. We watched as our chefs and their assistants pulled out a ton of beef. Yes, one of my favorite meals tonight. House salad, ribeye steaks, twice-baked loaded potatoes, corn on the cob, grilled onions, and smoked jalapeno poppers. It would be a while before everything was ready. We walked out of the kitchen together and Amber turned to me. Should we go and give that traitorous awful woman a visit? She gave me a grin. That sounds like a plan. We should check in on her. By checking on her I totally mean I need to see if I can tap into her mind. I agreed with a smile. On our way there we ran into Miranda. Well, you two look like you're on an important mission. We are on the way to visit Sarah in the cells. I watched Miranda make a face. What? Oh, I can't stand her. In our short time with one another she whined and complained. I believe she even slept with him too. She rolled her eyes. I will leave you two to it. See you at dinner. She smiled. You don't want to come with us? I asked and watched as she shook her head. I would rather wait until after the war to show my face around her. She shrugged. I didn't blame her. I didn't want to go see Sarah, but seeing how it was my duty to check in on her, I owed it to her and the people. Mostly to myself to see if I had progressed properly, but whatever. We parted ways with Miranda and head down to the cells. When we got there we checked in with the guard on duty. 2 other guards accompanied us to Sarah's cell. It was better than the other cells she had previously. She bowed her head, but I tapped into her mind as Amber talked and discussed how things had been. She wasn't difficult like she had been previously for me to read. I strolled through her private thoughts and smiled at seeing how much she truly loathed me. She had hoped that I would die, still. Everything she had told us was a lie, and I knew she would never be able to leave the cells. Not even to go back home, where she belongs. Although, there won't be anything there for her when we are finished. I sighed and glanced over to Amber and linked her quickly. She still wants me dead. Everything she is telling you is a lie. If she ever gets the chance, she would not hesitate to murder me. We should go. I watched a frown form on Amber's face and knew she was about to say something. I walked closer and held my hand for Amber to pause for a moment. I felt her calm some and I began to speak to Sarah. Sarah, you can stop with the lies. I can see the truth in you. See, I have had time to properly train and have learned so much about myself in the time since we last spoke. Your mind, up until now, has been difficult to open and read. She glared at me and I smiled and turned to walk away. I took a few steps and turned back to look at her, enjoy the cells. Amber turned and walked with me as Sarah screamed at us in the background. A small smile of victory on my face. I felt Amber's approval as we walked back up the steps. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.